Let's talk corn. What a wild year it's been. We began with the highest rate of planting since 1937 and now the worst weather since 1956. But instead of focusing on the drought, let's talk about where we're going to go in 2012, the end of the year, and 2013. Now, I think there are three issues that are really important. One is just how far this drought goes. Secondly, what's going on in Europe, both directly and indirectly. And then what's going on in China. China is going to have a huge effect. Rolling through it, the drought is awful, but here it is, July. We don't know what August is going to bring. People are saying, well, Bill, are we going to get some rain? I'm an economist. Don't expect me to forecast the weather as well as the economy. So we just know that there's a drought, and we don't know how bad the ultimate crop is going to be. Now, secondly, I want to talk about Europe. Europe is in a mild recession right now, but poised possibly for a financial meltdown, which would turn into a very severe crisis. Now, I'm going to divide Europe into some direct effects and some indirect effects. Directly, Europeans are going to have to tighten their budgets a little bit, spend a little bit less. But when they spend less, it'll be mostly on things other than food. And to the extent that they're spending less on food, they're going to be going out to eat less, not consuming fewer calories. They're going to be buying less prepared food, but there will be a little bit of a shift from beef to chicken, and that'll reduce grain demand. So Europe is a small impact, but it's going to be, slightly negative. That's the direct effect, though. China. China is important both for itself and because it may interact with what's going on in Europe. Now, China is tremendously important for grain demand, and a lot of us have missed that. In the last 2 decades, we have seen the greatest alleviation of poverty in the history of the world, and it happened in China. As they have raised their incomes, people have gone from very, very, very poor to high-level poverty, the sort of bordering on the middle class, to lower middle class. And as they have done that, they have added meat to their diet. Now, don't forget, the poor people are vegetarians most of the time, not because it's the latest fad in Hollywood or in Madison. They're vegetarians because they can't afford meat. And then when they get a little bit better off, they start buying chicken, they start buying pork, and when they buy that hamburger, the quarter-pound beef patty implies about 5 pounds worth of grain demand. So the rise of China is why you guys have not seen $3 corn in a while. The demand is tremendously up, disproportionate to their increase in income. So what's happening in China today? Well, China was growing too fast. Their inflation rate was high, so the government said, let's pull things down, and we went from 12% growth in China to 7.5% growth in China. And now the government leader is saying, whoa, we didn't want to go quite this far. In addition, China exports a lot, and about 20% of their exports go to Europe. So China's slowing down, and they may not be able to fine-tune their economy as well as Ben Bernanke fine-tunes the U.S. economy. So China may overshoot their slowdown, and at the same time, we get Europe, if it goes into a severe recession, that will hurt China, hurt America, and the stuff that China's not exporting to Europe, a lot of it goes to America. So China is at risk both by itself and in connection with Europe. So those are the factors I'm juggling. Let's do a forecast now. The assumptions here is that we'll eventually get to normal weather, but we'll have lower carryovers into 2013. The carryover stock was pretty thin going into 2012. We'll get lower carryovers. The herd is being reduced right now, so there'll be fewer animals to feed. I think Europe will probably muddle through, and China will not decelerate anymore. Under those assumptions, next year is going to see corn in the $5.50 range. But there's a tremendous range of possibilities, and on the downside, it could go in a very negative scenario with a European financial meltdown and a Chinese recession. It could go down as low as $3. So what I would recommend is, more than anything else, you think flexibility and great uncertainty and be ready to deal with that uncertainty.